All right now the pictures on your screens are coming in of the Cambodian King Norodom Sihamoni, who has arrived in New Delhi on a 3-day visit to India, and he has now been accorded the Guard of Honor as President Draupadi Murmu is also there, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi meeting the delegations of both of the countries. As far as he was received by the Minister of State for External Affairs as well when it comes to his arrival here in India. And the King is expected to have bilateral meetings with President Draupadi Murmu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who has been accorded the ceremonial welcome at the Rashtrapati Bhavan, and following which he is now expected to pay a floral tribute to Mahatma Gandhi at the Rajghat. As far as Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar and External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar, who will be calling on the King, as also it is expected that President Murmu will be hosting a state banquet in the honor of the visiting dignitary in the evening as well. This visit is marking the culmination of the celebrations of 70th anniversary of diplomatic relations between India and Cambodia, and the visit by the King, Srinjoy, is now taking place almost after 6 decades.
Yes, undoubtedly. Cambodia is particularly important for India because Cambodia is part of ASEAN, and India doesn't have just a look-east policy, but an act-east policy. India is looking at all 10 ASEAN countries. India wants closer ties with these countries. India wants closer ties also because these countries, some of them, are being troubled by the Chinese. And India believes that closer ties with ASEAN will help the Indo-Pacific region, and it will help all democratic countries. India has very close ties with many ASEAN countries like Vietnam, like the Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia, and so on. Now, Cambodia is another country that India has a lot of closeness with. India, if you remember, actually recognized the Heng Samrin regime all those years ago after Pol Pot, the butcher, was thrown out. Now, that was something the people of Cambodia remember, because Pol Pot was responsible for the killings of 1 million people, which is a lot of people in any case, but for a small country, it's huge. The fact that India immediately recognized the successor regime of Pol Pot, the regime that pushed aside Pol Pot, is something that the people of Cambodia remember, and remember with great grace. And as a result, India and Cambodia are close, and this visit only brings the two sides closer.
Absolutely, because there are many common and shared cultural relationships also between India and Cambodia, especially when it comes to the commitment of fostering economic growth and collaboration in several fields, Srinjoy, like defense and security. We're looking at a closer relationship between the two.
Undoubtedly, and this relationship is not of 75 years or anything. Let's not forget that Angkor Wat is so many thousand years old. India and Cambodia have that relationship that goes back that many thousand years, 100 years. So it's very important to remember that India and Cambodia have close ties for not just 75 years, for many 100 years. And that is something that will not be forgotten, because Angkor is a representation of an earlier India in Cambodia. And that is one way the two countries are working together for the restoration of Angkor. That is one. Of course, there are more contemporary issues like naval relationships. Just recently, India and ASEAN countries had a naval exercise together. Cambodia took part. So as a result, it's a very old relationship and a very close one, which is why the King is here.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Ranjan, for those details. Srinjoy has been pointing out that India has also extended grants and concessional loans for the developmental projects, and especially when it comes to the restoration of the ancient temples of Angkor Wat there in Cambodia. Thank you very much, Ranjan, for joining in. We will be back after a short break.